Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about an RTS fundamental here, and I have a lovely match that is a case in point, key example about the power of expanding. Now, a lot of people, they don't believe in expanding, and I'm a big advocate of taking bases because it allows you to gain more value from the map. Now, this match, I wanted to show you specifically because my opponent contests my expansions and stubbornly refuses to take expansions of their own. And we're going to get to see here the pros and cons of expanding. So to start off the game, I expanded, which means I'm increasing my economy. I'm growing on the map in a way that's going to allow me to get more stuff over time. My opponent is choosing not to expand, and they're choosing to make buildings next to my base. Now, this is something that's a classic in RTS. Tower rushing is maybe what they initially called this in Warcraft 3. Maybe people even cheesed in games before Warcraft 3. What are some ancient cheeses you know of? This is definitely a classic. 2 probes, cannon rush the opponent, and then take your base behind it once you feel happy about your cannon rush. And I'm trying out the new 15-15 build. I've still got some work to do in figuring out how I want to defend cheese builds like this. But my opponent very expertly is able to kill my base. And now you might start to feel some sadness in your heart because your investment was turned into nothing. But I did still gain some value from this hatchery. And it might not look like much, but this queen survived. And this is a story of the power of expanding and what you can gain from it. So I did lose this base, yes, but I got some lings and I got another queen out, which means I have 2 queens. And when I was in this match live, I was kind of sad because I felt like I was super dead and behind. But then I went back to the mindset of being a survivor. If you want to survive stuff, you have to deal with difficult situations in life and in video games. And this is an unfun, difficult situation that my opponent has put into my base right here. And they killed my base. And now they're going to expand with a full wall off here. And this is a problem for them because this means that they're only going to be ahead in the 2 base phase, but not the 3 base phase if I can get out of here. So how am I going to get out of here? One of my go-tos is going for a Lara Roachworn Ananitis to try to jump over this and just attack their base. But this opponent has faced me before. And they know that I like to go for Nidus play. So what are they doing? They're chrono boosting out Immortals right away. They've got Stalkers on patrol. They've even got a probe to fill vision because now they're trying to have the advantage of 1 expansion more than I have, mining off of 2 bases. So I'm very behind now. And rather than give in to despair and just GG whenever my Nidus is denied, which I'll just show you that real quick, just so you can really bask in the difficulty of this match. So here's my Nidus attempt. I tried to distract with an Overlord over here, and I did get the attention of the Stalkers. And then I tried to Nidus here, but my opponent noticed it in time, and Immortals deal a lot of damage to Armored, so they're just going to run over here and attack this. Okay, so now this is a very sad time for me. I failed the Nidus completely, and they're just going to have more and more units. Now there's a Warp Prism to help out these Immortals. So how do you get out of the situation when you're down to 1 base against 2? This is a move called the double expand. The double expand is a really good play, especially when you're behind and you don't really feel like you can attack your opponent. I can't attack them. I tried to attack them. They have units in their base spread out so they can shut down any Nidus play, but they can't really get out of their base very well and set up another Nexus and probe it up very effectively because they wall themselves in. So I'm going to double expand and just kind of risk it for the biscuits and try to defend. And I looked at my queens and I said, you know what? I may not have a good infrastructure But god damn it, do I have a whole bunch of queen energy, and I'm just going to make a heck ton of creep. And this creep is going to come in clutch. And it's all off the back of me going for an early second queen with my hatch first build, and then accruing that queen energy over time. Because even though I lost my hatchery, I didn't lose heart, because I knew I still had stuff that I could work with that creates a kind of ever-growing threat on the map with this queen energy making creep. I should have gotten one overseer to deal with this observer, but the observer can't stop the creep. It can only admire it. So I'm just going to creep and creep. I'm going to try to inject my new bases as they come up, making more queens from my main because I'm low on larva, but queens don't cost larva. And my opponent is very stubbornly going for a Zealot Immortal timing. I don't have a scout of this. I have an injured Overlord. I could try to Overseer scout, but the Overseer would probably die before I got up here. So I'm just making roach speed +1 range attack and trying to get the 3 bases going. But I'm about to be heavily attacked. And I have very little warning. The only warning I'm going to have is whenever it steps on creep. So just to check the game state for you, I have 40 workers to 36. I have 6 queens, 3 ravagers, and 15 lings. And they have 17 zealots, 2 immortals, 2 stalkers, and a prism. Now this fight ends up being pretty funny. And I'm going to break it down for you. The zealots run at this base. And there are immortals here as well. So I'm just trying to fight and kind of kite this army back with my ranged units and transfuse with my queens. The zealots are attacking, the queens are tanking the damage. And now the value of that queen energy is both creep spread of being able to run around freely and very fast, and then also the transfuse to keep my units alive. And now the Ravagers killed the Prism, so this attack can only work if they warp in units and run them across the map like a normal person. So it's 21 Zealot and 2 Immortal, and I had a base here, but it died. And some people might think, hey, your third base died. Maybe you shouldn't have taken that. That's the wrong way of thinking about it. This hatchery was my shield. It was my shield that prevented me from losing the majority of my drones. So expanding is a move that doesn't necessarily need to convert into income. It can also be just a big object that you put on the map that's yours that has high health and armor. Look at this, 1,500 health, and a hatchery has like 2 armor. What is it? Why can I not mouse over that? Oh, I need to have my vision. It's not letting me see it. Anyways, hatcheries are armored. They're strong. But we're still holding on here. And look at these immortals. They're shooting the creep tumors that I made from the queen energy instead of helping with this fight. And the immortals are very much needed to fight these +1 speed roaches, but they're just randomly patrol commanding these heckin' creep tumors. So because I expanded and I got the second queen out, I was able to lay down a whole bunch of creep, which caused them, if they just A-move, to shoot creep tumors instead of my army as I retreat back. And we have just defended the attack, and we're even in workers. More zealots are on the way. They're going to do the old trusty, if it didn't work, do it again approach. And now there are even more zealots heading at my base. Now I already see some people in the chat who are questioning this opponent's spending. Spending is pretty hard when you're also trying to micro your units, and they're just choosing to micro instead of produce. So I've got this Roach Ravager here, and now I have a narrow choke, and this is my territory between my expansions, which means my new units are jumping out into the fray right away. They fumbled the micro there. They could have saved an immortal. And lo and behold, we have defended the attack once again. And now you might be saying, well, Neuro, you lost your natural to the Cannon Rush, and then you lost your third to the Zealot Immortal. What's your next move? It's to expand again, because expanding is very hard. Chat says you should admit that this Protoss played the all-in really poorly. You know what? You might be right. But one thing that I would say is that this all-in would basically kill any of the viewers who are backseating this game between the cannon rush and the attack. And in addition to that, every win that we earn is based on the opponent's mistakes that they made over the course of the match. So you can always roast people's play. That's true. You could roast my play this game for sure. It's pretty roastable. And I'm expanding into a third. Then I'm also going to expand into a fourth. And the reason I would take a fourth here is because I like expanding. Expanding gives me a very clear increase in value in both production and potential income. Zerg makes their units from the expansion. But again, it is another object that my opponent has to deal with. Otherwise, I just keep getting more and more income. And now I'm kind of zooming around the map with the lings, looking for my opponent's expansion. And if they do not expand, I need to know how many workers I feel like I can defend attacks with comfortably. So if I know my opponent is doing a 2-base all-in, then I want to make sure that I have the right drone count to make units and not die. So around this 53 amount, I feel like, okay, if they go for a 2-base all-in, then I feel like I can defend with Ling Roach Ravager with this eco. They've got 2 disruptors in the prism. They're looking for an opportunity. That was a mistake from me. So you could say I played that Corrosive Bow very poorly. I'm pressuring the prism, and I'm still just making units, and now I'm going for a 4th base. Great. And all my bases are creeped. You should also have vision in front of your expansions. One of the rules of business is to protect your investment. And each of these hatcheries is an investment, and I will try to protect it if I can. But if I can't, I will use it as a shield. Hatcheries are strong. So are planetaries. You've seen many Terran players use a planetary to great effect. And now my opponent's going to go for another attack. But I have a fuckload more supply than them because I expanded. I expanded once to take my natural and that died. I expanded a second time to retake it, and then a third time to take this 3rd base. And then I expanded again to retake the 3rd after it was killed. So 4 times, and then I took this base, hatchery here, as my 4th. So 7 expansions I took this game to my opponent's 1. And you might think, wow, 7 to 1, you're probably going to die to their attack, right? Incorrect. I'm maxed, pretty much, and I have money to make more units. So they're going for a hefty attack here. Lots of Colossi, Stalkers, Disruptors. Warp Prism is here. They're spending their money decently well now. 157 supply. But because everything is on creep, I saw the whole fight. I got to set up however I wanted. I got a surround. And then, if you look at the production tab, I have 17 roaches in the production tab because I expanded. So ladies and gentlemen, even if you lose your base, again, and even if you lose your base again, you can still expand again and fight it out. This has been a public service announcement teaching people the value of expanding. Don't stubbornly sit on 2 bases for 45 minutes. Take a 3rd base. Thank you.